Hey, Mr. Skeen in class. Today's topic of the summary is sensation and perception. Starting this unit, we defined the two and the differences between them. Sensation being the actual feeling, seeing, taste, etc., and perceiving being how we interpret that data that is inputted into our brain, and how those experiences can change how we may sense things and such. And the next thing we touched on was a little thing called transduction. And transduction is the actual in detail, in-depth process of how that sensory data reaches our brains. Like the example we were given was hearing, which is the most complex. And it goes through several different series of systems that actually amplify that wavelength. And when it reaches our brain, it's actually more powerful or has the same amount of power than when it reached our ear. And next we touched on bottom-up processing and top-down processing. Bottom-up processing being that how we perceive things is directly based on our sensory input, and it's pretty short and sweet. And top-down processing is a little more in-depth. It has to do with how our thought, experience, and stuff like that, our personal information, affects our senses. So based on our expectations and experience that we've had in the past, we could miss something that we're looking straight at, which is very interesting. And after that, we watched this video which touched on how brain preservation may be able to help us not die and keep our consciousness intact even though our bodies may decay and die off. And it also touched on how using even half our brain can still work for us. In a more detailed way of saying how having only half the brain can reroute itself to make itself work and still perceive the information that it wants and needs for us to exist semi-perfectly. There may be a few things wrong with the person, but generally and intellectually, they're okay. And from what I've gathered, that's the most of what we've studied in this course, or in this unit. And I think it was a very, very interesting unit. It was awesome to learn.